behind you.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's like
I forgot to do that.
perfectly angled there. Are you doing any events, reenactment events for the 250th?
Yeah, we have a ton of them. It's awesome. Yeah, most of them are Lebanon area in this,
Jen,
like, in this region, that's the Lebanon, but
you know, it started recording,
yeah,
but I can't see.
like every weekend.
Oh.
Here's that, it's a little crazy, yeah.
I, and that. But I don't think those together. Oh, but where's the recording? Oh.
Remember, we had the, did you 250?
I heard it say, I started the meeting and it said.
I brought up, like, oh, you should have something here, and I was like, they book like a year at least out. I was like, yeah,
And actors are like,
yeah.
it's serious business.
Yeah.
Hi, please. I'd like to call this regular board of selectmen meeting to order Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, 7 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. It'll be online here. If we see you online, you have your hand up, we'll try and contact you, call on you if it is during the audience of citizen. And for those who are in the audience, if you do wish to say something in a statement, actually keep it to 2 minutes. You can talk statement once or twice or whatever. But please be respectful, as I expect the board to be respectful. So if you'll all please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Move to approve the agenda is presented. There's no any changes, right? No discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No, carries, thank you. Move to approve the board of selectmen meeting minutes for March 24th, 2026.
One small fix, my contribution on the museum trust piece should say adjunct professor, not like a professor at UConn.
Okay.
Just before that, yeah.
You want to tell the, right there, so page 3
I
to 6.
emailed it in advance, yeah, you should have that, but you know.
Anybody else? Any discussion? Any more? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Carries. Audience to citizen. Something that's not on the agenda? No hands, nothing on the line, wonderful. Old business, 26-27 budget discussion. Oh. So we're getting a lot of letters about, the Board of Education and their budget. Board of Selectmen has no jurisdiction on the Board of Education. And also the Board of Education. So we never say the board should read that, but they were distributed to the,
I'm sorry.
oh, it was sent to Marvin Wilson, superintendent, I don't know if the Board of
It
Ed.
has 5 pack listed on the top of each one too, so I don't know. 5 pack and Kelly received each one.
You're talking about
The letters, the letters.
Yes, they were all set.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Busy.
So very nice letter and some well-written copies of it. So Board of Selectmen, I asked them to send the budget we submitted back to us. They've asked for $1 million reduction for the Board of Selectmen budget. There's two fields of thought in my opinion. I have two thoughts on this. We had padded our budget, so one part of me says we should send it forward and let people decide. But there's another part of me that says, take a look at it and see what we can do. How much do we find? 600,000-700,000? What did we find? Our final number.
Sometimes if you make other changes tonight, the goal they gave us last week was an additional 610. You had already taken out over 300,000
Right.
with the sweeper, so they wanted to have 610. Looking at a capital.
So I looked at it and I spoke to department heads. They all looked at their budgets and they all see where they can cut nickel and dime and found a few $1,000s, and we took a look at some other areas, and the biggest one, of course, is the capital.
Yeah.
So. I had a long discussion with the fire chief about putting away dollars for equipment that we will need in the future to replace aged out equipment. We did it on a schedule with money going in every year, so when it came time to pay for
The very back of that section is.
pay for a fire truck, an engine, or an apparatus or something, self-contained breathing devices. We were able to do it without having to bond them.
That's library.
So I'm gonna ask you to, I'll go through some of this. They were looking for an increase this year of $341,000, correct? Correct. 341. What was the change? One was the change the spread, the change of everything. Did we do that? Did you make that form? Okay. So you'll see on this 26-27, the top line, $40,000 there. That's $40,000 in this year's budget. We can spread it out over the next 10 years, 15 years. Whatever it would need to be to even that up. I might not have that. This long spread, all the way in the back. What's the top? I'm sorry, it's the last green. See it's green one here, or the last one in that head, in that section. Don't skip it on, don't skip it on.
Right before the speed camera presentation, it's the very back of the old list. The end of the budget. It's the last big budget file.
Let's see.
Keep going, keep going.
Right before the blue paper. Yep.
Keep going. There you go. Go around.
Yeah. I
So
think there's more, bro. Keep going. Do you see where yours is?
Here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so top line, 26, 27, 40,000. That can be spread out over the remaining years of this budgeted plan, so we can save that 40,000 off of this year's taxes. The 90,000 is going to remain because we only have 5 more years to pay for engine 105. Not taking that out. Drop down to 80,000, tanker 105. And we can take that out and spread that over, not next year, because next year is gonna be a large budget, but 28, 29, so 5 years. About 17 each year, that's what we did. Because if you look down, those years get lighter and lighter in capital. There was 14, there was something wrong here, but there was $14,000 in $14,000 in SCBA, which is down the last item listed, 14,725. See it down that column?
Yeah.
Take that out, it's got 20 years to pay for that, we can budget that out. Add $700 each year, it'll be fine. And then there was another one, which was,
You had the tanker, you have the rain,
Marine, the Marine. That's, you don't see it here, but that can be budgeted out, and I think that was. I don't know, $10,000 or something. In total, it's $137,000 that we could save in this year's capital and spread it out over the years to come. With not a big bump on those ends because our capital is lower. We're not saving for engine 105 again. All right, so we saved the $90,000 in starting in year 32. 137, the 140 we asked for in the storage garage. Take that out of the budget. Hopefully, we can see what happens with different funding.
Or low SIP money was
The low SIP money, we might be able to pay for that.
it's in there, but it's also, you'll apply to it to the zero to that.
Right.
Because you have to have. As
an expense
as
to
proof.
apply the revenue.
You have to have an approved project for LoSiP. So it's in there, and it's netted out, there's LoSiP money to zero it out.
But they still see it on the budget.
Yes, it has to
And
be
it-
on
and
the ways you have
But
to do
in the
that.
capital line, it's supposed to. 140,000 funded with low SIP funding.
And then, so that's 277,000 of the 620 they're looking for. Where else did we?
The balance of the money is gonna be TAR fund, TAR grant, it's county road funds, cover that.
So in all, we think that we're going to be able to tell Fire Pack that we can, if we decide to. Well, we have to look at the total, but it's gonna be over $650,000.
And that,
You could pull that much out.
That includes the 320
Right.
off the sweeper.
Okay.
So there's two ways to look at it. We, once again, the Board of Selectmen, work our budget. We try to answer to the increase, be able to knock it back a little bit. But on the other hand, we didn't cut our budget. This is what we believe our town needs. This is what we believe how we could spread it out and save for it in very reasonable financial responsibility. Once we can tell Five Pack, we're not making any changes, and let them go to the town for over a $5 million increase. So I have a hard time with that. I do. I understand it. But I have a hard time with it. When we can make, I believe, responsible changes for years to come. But I don't know what the years to come is gonna be. If this one is gonna be bad, I said it was gonna be bad. Okay? So. What are your thoughts?
We're going with over a 5 mil increase, and I get that we have a pretty fiscally responsible budget going in, but I'd rather spread out that money and cross my fingers for what's coming next down the road, because going in at that much is a lot. It's a lot more than we had anticipated, even as we were looking at it, and we were miscalculating in the moment, so.
But the other thing I thought about the spreading it out budget is. Every year. Fire department sits in front of us and tells us what they need. How would they want what they need? And I say that a lot, but I talk with them all the time. They're our first line and only line of safety. I remember a gentleman 5 years ago screaming about a pickup truck. We wanted to buy the fire department, used one, I believe, to get into the woods and stuff. He had a pickup truck and he was willing to show them how to use it. When I said, well, you do it at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's 10 below outside. He said, well, I'm not getting out of bed. Okay, and it's easy to say, they don't need that stuff. Until they're pulling you out of your house because it's close to being in flames. Okay? I feel good if we decide to spread it out, because I can look at the fire department when they sit here in front of me, and I don't have to say to them, don't worry. That engine you're looking for, we're gonna take that money we've been putting away. The people of this town are gonna vote to bond for that at $1,600,000. Don't worry about it. I know they're going to. I can't speak for the town anymore. I have no feel for the town anymore. I don't know what I can ask them to do. I don't know what they will do. So I have to tell the fire department, this is what we will do. But we gotta stick to it. And the only people who can take it away is the people of the town who say, we're not going this place in the budget. We're not voting for this budget, whatever. We're back who says, we're not doing that either. But we'll do our part. Not us, it's them. But I think this is reasonable, and I think Five Factor understand why we're doing this.
So between the first proposal and where we are now, what is the actual number that we're looking at? So the first proposal that went to 5-pack, and how much have we cut if we spread this out?
The first proposal included, well, the first conversations included 300-something thousand more because of the sweeper, and we aggressively cut it before it went there. But they included that in their $1,000,000, so the 320,000 we took off of that capital for the sweeper. Plus they're looking for another 640 or something, so about $1,000,000. So this will take about another 300,000.
That's about 600.
And then there's nickel and dimes in every department who gave back $1,000 or $1,200, or the library gave back $965.
Well, it all helps.
But it adds up.
It all
It's
helps.
not gonna be great. But it adds up.
Some departments that already have very, very small budgets, so it makes sense, but
So,
So in doing this, we're still providing the services that we need to do, but it's just, we'll do it, or pay for it over a period of time, or the project won't start right. I'm just trying to understand how that's gonna work. Is it?
it doesn't extend the timeout. We make larger payments when the capital fund for the fire department gets less in 2 years. It goes from $340,000 in spending down to 280. So we'll basically budget a $300,000 capital for the fire department for the next 5 to 7 years. Instead of going 340, 412, 289. All right. So what do we do?
I support that, Steve. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. Whether they'll agree with it, that's another thing.
Do we not say,
I mean, it's
this is the budget we go with, the five mills?
no, I think the cuts you brought up are good.
Yeah,
We have, and I read these letters. We have been financially negligent in our job, you know that, people have said this. Because we've had years of 0% increase. Years. And we should have been putting away for this. I didn't know we were gonna lose every culvert, bridge and road in the town 2 years ago,
I know.
but we were putting away for it. 'Cause we don't have to bond for a new engine, a new tanker, a new this, a new that every 10 years. We're budgeting. And we're gonna budget for DPW coming up too, $270 a year for the next 6 years. For equipment.
now some of it'll go for bonding, and so we don't pay it.
We don't know what we're gonna, bonding is an uncertainty.
It's in the debt schedule for short-term financing, and when we actually bond, we have projected principal and interest payments coming up, but not in this budget.
So I'm just thinking some of the bigger projects we could put in there, like the vehicles and stuff, but that's not gonna happen.
We don't know if it'll pass. If I go to the town next year and say I need $800,000 new payment on top of the you know, for bonded stuff, plus the existing new budget. So that's already an automatic mill and a half, on top of whatever we do next year.
So it's because we're not sure what's going on, how it's,
Doing it like this because I believe we can still fund it as we plan to and deliver when the fire department says that's when we're going to need it.
We can assume that those items will, the current items or current vehicles still hold some sort of value at that point, so.
We just got 25,000.
I know, it wasn't much for that, yeah.
for the old
Right.
ones.
Judy, in the binder right before the capital section is our current bands that we're paying. In the budget we're in right now is 165,000 short-term financing. In the next budget, the bond debt service will be 512,000.
That's if we buy nothing but the bond for the school. First payment is
5.5
500.
million. 5.5 million is what we're bonding for the full 8.5. 3.1 million is a grant from the state.
Right,
We've already put in $1 million of our own.
So the first year that we're paying that back, it's 1 mil. 500 something thousand dollars, which basically is 1 mil for the habitat.
right.
So I don't know the thing to, all I know is I gotta be true.
For what, $2 million, so it's a 20-year loan, so the dollar amount would be roughly 500,000 when. So you're,
I'm sorry.
so if we're borrowing $2 million.
No, we're 5.5.
5.5, and then we get some, okay, so it's a 20-year loan,
Yeah.
so the payments. Each year for that 20-year loan, how much is it? You're saying it's about 500,000,
512.
500, and then it drops 20,000 every year, give or take.
and then when we get money, from the state, from the grant, then we.
That's, that's our share. 5.5. The 3.5 we got from the state. The total job is 8.5 million.
Allocate them. Okay,
9,
yeah,
if we can get out of here. I don't know, that's gonna. We'll wait to see when that all shakes out, nothing ever.
no.
Chief, I will ask for your input now.
So, Chief of Columbia Volunteer Fire Department, Jeff Lewis. So I've had plenty of conversations with Steve Everett, and I know the situation he's in. But I think the town of Columbia needs to know how the fire department plans for its apparatus. We were approached years ago. Because these pieces of apparatus are now worth $1.6 million. If you were to buy one today, about 1.2. The next piece, as he's talking about, is engine 105 due in 2032 for $1.6 million. The tanker, which follows that in 34, is $800,000. These are projected costs as of today, is the way it stands with inflation, material, and I can already tell you if we keep going, we are with the economy, the price is going up. So we take all of our apparatus and we put a dollar value to it and we spread it out over 20 years, 25 years. Because it's easier to take in small chunks than come to the town and ask for $1.6 million next year. We know it's not gonna pass. You just heard the first selectman talk about a piece of apparatus that got sold at the town of Hebron. We weren't using it. It served a purpose in the town of Hebron that's having the same problems we are in the town of Columbia, and they needed a piece of apparatus. Well, there is no market for fire apparatus, for used fire apparatus. Like the main moose, that's where they end up as antiques. One person's treasure is not, you can't send them anywhere. So there's no value in our apparatus. That piece of apparatus, engine 205, was coming due in 2028, 2 years. And you are going to be short $600,000 by the projection, because when we came out of COVID, everything skyrocketed in pricing. So we were going to be shortfall. We caught it last year. I worked with the selectmen. We rebudgeted it out long-term, 20 years. And I said, just this past year, I'm like, we will take what's in engine 205 and put it to engine 105. Because we've been setting aside all this money. So we've been very fiscally responsible, because the volunteer firefighters and EMTs, the men and women of this town that serve this town, also taxpayers, and we all get it. So, as much as it hurts me to hear that they want to cut $341,000 of my capital to offset the budget, they have the right to push it out. But as we know, if you push it out once, you're gonna fund it back. When do you start funding it back? Because there was reasons why you pushed it out. We ran into this before with our old rescue. Got pushed out 5 years. Finally came true. That's the squad you see newer piece running around town. That's a replacement. Came in 5 years late. The fire department is your cheapest, lowest budget you have, and we do it for free. We do it for free 24/7, 365. And it's always easy to come after the little guy. But I think we all need to start looking at where the problem is. Sorry, I'm a taxpayer too, even though I'm the chief. And in one way I have to run the business, the other way I'm a taxpayer. So I just want to explain that a little bit to you folks on how we do it. So we prepare to buy these pieces of apparatus so we can do our job. All right, thank you.
So I want to correct one thing the chief said. We're not pushing out the time.
Right.
We're not pushing out the schedule. It'll be delivered as per the schedule. Okay? The payments will be larger after next year, but they're not insurmountable. The capital for the fire department and in 3 years actually drops down about $70,000 per, 50 to 70,000. So that's where we can smooth it out. All right. So as I'm hearing,
That's fine. Yeah.
so I move to send. Is there anything else you have to do with our budget to send it back?
So you can do two versions of the budget, one with keeping the fire department the same if they put it, or the change, so which one?
We're gonna change.
We're gonna do the change.
Yeah, anything else? I'm gonna make the motion now.
Yes, then send you back to five TAC as you with all the amendments we've done.
Okay. It just, I move to, send the board of selectmen 26-27 budget back to
Revised budget.
revised budget that we just discussed, back to the financial and planning allocation board. All right, all those in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, automated traffic enforcement safety device. So before we jump into that, I'll give you a little. About a year ago, I came to the board of selectmen and I said, the traffic cameras out there. I'd like to be the first town in Connecticut to get traffic cameras. Because I get calls regularly. I have messages on my desk. Please call this person. I look, I know the name. It's like, oh God, here. I get it. I see the traffic. I hear the traffic. People talk about the traffic. They call, they walk in, they talk about the speeding, the unsafe roads. At the time, I was told it's not for Columbia. Okay. We did look into it. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the towns in the state were popping up, grabbing it and looking at it and stuff. And I brought it back to the board of selectmen. And two things, we set up a committee. Said, okay, let's set up a committee and take a look at it. And I was also asked a question, this is a safety thing or a money grab? And that was a great question. It was a absolutely truthful, great question. And I said, yes. So I expanded on it a little bit. People go too fast through the center of town. They go too fast on the roads. I mean, I was driving today, I was doing 52 and 45. And this person just blew by me right through the center of town, over here, down the hill. And when he got to the stoplight down, I pulled up next to him and waved as I went straight and he tried to take a left hand. Well, what did it get you? We go too fast. Our neighbors go too fast. The trooper says 40% of the people he gives tickets to are residents of Columbia. Funny, but it's not funny. There's people that'll call me, but people are really screaming by me, I can tell. I look down, I'm doing 60. And the other thing is, we did some research on this, and you can use the fines to pay for roads, bridges, infrastructure. In the next 5 years, I would bet that Columbia is probably gonna spend $8 million on roads, bridges, infrastructure. $8 million. It's an easy bet. If you see that in Vegas, take the over. Take the over, okay? And you can pay for some of that with the fines that you receive. So the committee has talked about it, and there's been opposition, there's no doubt about it, there's been opposition. But I've asked the chairperson of the committee to come in and just talk to us about what they found out and what they recommend to the board of selectmen we should do. So, Nick, want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely.
What you got?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nick Ferris. I am a Columbia resident, and I am the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee, as Steve mentioned. I'm here tonight to relay some of the recommendations that the committee has officially made to the Board of Selectmen in our capacity as an advisory committee. But I'll also be speaking in my own capacity with my experience over about 20 years with working with other jurisdictions that are looking into the adoption of automated traffic enforcement and safety devices. So we go to the first slide here. Steve hit a lot of this already, so I'll be quick on here. Speeding is a problem in Columbia. I could talk at length as to why excessive speeding down public roads and a 2-ton piece of metal is a bad idea, but I'm going to operate under the assumption they're all on the same page, at least as far as that goes. I don't like dropping lots of boring statistics, especially if they're at a national level, but I'm gonna put exactly one right up here. It's real simple. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, back in 2023, they did a huge study. It says a little over 1 in 4 traffic fatalities is speeding related. And I checked with Connecticut. We're right in line with those numbers as well. As Steve mentioned, our town staff, Steve himself, resident trooper over the years, we've gotten numerous complaints from residents about speeding issues on our roads, and we're talking both on the state highways and our local roads. So last year we formed the Traffic and Transportation Committee in part to investigate concerns about speeding in Columbia and to advise the Board of Selectmen on how to address those concerns. So right away, we put out a public call for comments and reports regarding traffic safety issues in Columbia. And we've actually created a public database with those reports. If you go to any of our committee's agendas, you'll see a link there where it's updated as reports come in. And about 2/3 of them are speeding related. They're all in the same theme there. They're saying, I can't drive down the roads without someone racing past me. It's not safe for me to walk along the roads in Columbia. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that speeding is a problem. But we have actual data to back that up. So last year, there were a number of traffic studies done on both the state roads and local roads in Columbia, specifically on parts of Route 66 and 87. We see that about 35% of drivers are exceeding the speed limit on a daily basis. More than 3% of them by more than 10 miles an hour. It's a lot worse on our local roads. There was a study on part of Wellswood Road. 96% of drivers are going over the limit of 25 miles an hour there. More than half by more than 10 miles an hour over the limit, and 5% by more than 20 miles over the limit, basically double the limit there. So we have the stories, but we also have the data. Speeding is definitely a problem in Columbia and everywhere. On the next slide, we're going to talk about some of the recommendations that the committee has made. We have recommended that the town look into adopting more speed feedback signs. Those are the signs that you'll see. They'll show the posted speed limit, and then they'll flash at you what your current speed is. And if you're going very fast, the flashing tends to be angrier and sometimes turns red. The FHA, Federal Highway Administration, has data that says that these signs can be effective in reducing average speeds by 3 or 4 miles an hour, sometimes as much as 7 miles an hour. The issue is that they take this every little bit helps approach, but they target a particular kind of individual, and that's the kind of person who doesn't realize that they're speeding. They see the sign and they'll slow down. So it's only effective as a voluntary compliance measure. And then, of course, they do come with modest equipment procurement and maintenance costs, so they're not free. The next recommendation that we made was to increase law enforcement, what we call high visibility enforcement. We have one resident trooper in town. He has a full-time load of law enforcement responsibilities. He can't be on every street in Columbia watching for speeders all the time. But when he is out there doing high visibility enforcement, you get the slowdown from both the stops that he's making, and there's a residual reduction in speed just from their mere presence. Reminds people, hey, I need to watch my speed. But these are temporary speed reductions typically. The trooper goes home, no more high visibility enforcement. Law enforcement is also currently the most effective means for another major contributing factor to crashes in Connecticut and elsewhere, which is distracted driving. But the more time that a trooper is spending going after speeders, the less time they're focusing on distracted driving. On the next slide, you'll see the original recommendation we made, which was for the town to look into adopting automated traffic enforcement safety devices. A couple of years ago, Connecticut authorized their use by towns, and the last I checked, there are 11 municipalities in Connecticut that are currently using them. They've received authorization from DOT to use them, and they're operating in about 60 different locations throughout the state. There are 5 more towns with applications still pending, and there's at least a dozen more towns that are considering them. And that was just from what I could find either online or talking directly to the town, including some of our neighboring towns. The statute authorizes 2 types of these devices. First is for red light running. We have 2 traffic lights in town. We're more focused on speed enforcement. These can be used for speed enforcement when you are exceeding the speed limit by more than 10 miles an hour. So on a road where the speed limit is 35 miles per hour, these will be used for drivers going 45 miles an hour or higher. And that is based on the state statute. They can be installed on both local roads and with a little bit of extra paperwork to the DOT on state highways. So they can go in both places, which is great. And they're typically installed and maintained by outside vendors. There's a great many of vendors to choose from, so it's very competitive out there between them. They've been doing this for many, many years, all over the country. As far as the citation structure goes, civil citations are mailed for violations above 10 miles an hour over the limit, but you can choose to set that value higher if you wanted to on a per unit basis. For the first 30 days that a unit is active, the state statute says you have to do a warning period. You mail out a letter saying, hey, slow down. After that, first offense is $50 fine. Second and subsequent offense is a $75 fine. And then you can also assess a $15 administrative fee to operate the program. But as these are civil citations, there are no points assessed for these. On the next slide, I just want to briefly touch on some of the benefits that we've seen. And again, these are new to Connecticut, but they're not a new technology at all. They've been in use in some states for several decades. Half the country is using them. So while Connecticut's a little behind the curve, we're actually benefiting a little bit because when the state was putting together the statute, the legislators were able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls and early growing pains that other states have had with these programs. I've seen a lot of states build these programs from the ground up. Connecticut, I think by far has done the best job of making sure they're doing it right. Now, because these things have been around for so long, we have a lot of data on their effectiveness. And again, I don't like reciting stats for hours, and I could, but my favorite stat is Federal Highway Administration has done numerous studies. Quite simply, they show that these devices can reduce speeding-related crashes by 54%. That's literally half of speeding-related crashes just gone. And we're not just talking vehicular crashes either. They call them crashes when a vehicle hits pedestrian as well. So these devices, they come with benefits of both speed feedback signs and high visibility law enforcement. They aren't just targeting people who want to slow down and don't know they're speeding. They're highly effective at reducing speeds in out-of-town commuters, people who are using the state roads through Columbia to race to work. Some of the complaints we get in Columbia are that our trooper receives are based on Columbia residents who are speeding, but the majority of them are out of towners as well. So, they're either coming down 66 or 87, or they're using local roads as cut throughs. We've gotten a lot of complaints in the committee about people using local roads, cut throughs, racing through on 25-mile-an-hour roads at 50 miles an hour. One important point I'll touch on very briefly, these things are inexpensive. I'll expand on that a little bit. They also don't sleep. They work 24/7. And very importantly, I think they allow law enforcement to focus on other priorities. If you know people speed at a particular location, why would you keep parking a trooper there over and over again when you could just put a camera there, call it a day? In Columbia in particular, we have at least half a dozen roads in areas of what we call habitual speeding. The problem just isn't going away no matter how much we send a single trooper there. They also have lasting effectiveness. So you'll see residual speed reductions. People in their head will say, oh, Columbia has speed cameras. I better watch my speed. As Steve mentioned, the fines have to actually be used for transportation infrastructure improvements. They can't just go into a town account and be used for other purposes. State statute is very clear that the town has to be very transparent about every dollar they receive as a fine and where it's going to improve traffic and safety infrastructure in town. These are not meant to be the be-all and end-all of traffic safety. They're meant to produce meaningful, long-lasting infrastructure improvements. And I said earlier, they're inexpensive, but I was sugarcoating a little bit. Even better, they can be up and running at little or no cost to the town. The vendors that are out there, they generally operate on two models. They'll either do a monthly lease for these, which will be more than recouped by the fines that are collected, or there are more vendors that are offering them at zero cost to the municipality. They simply collect the administrative fee of $15 that's included whenever you pay a citation. So they're not just inexpensive, they're essentially free to the town. On the next slide, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of graphics, but this one's kind of hard to ignore. Middletown was the first town in Columbia to put these out there. I'm still trying to keep this short, but this graphic here shows how effective they can be. August of last year, before this specific camera went online, this camera is on Route 66, Washington Street, about 1.5 miles west of Wesleyan. Before the camera went online, their speed limit was 35 miles an hour, and you had 150,000 drivers every month going more than 10 miles an hour over that limit. Since then, in the 6 months, that number has gone down by 80%. Highly effective. Every other town that's putting them up is reporting similar results. On the next slide, despite the fact that these have been around for decades, there's still people who don't particularly care for them, but in my experience, I found that many of those opponents come in two different flavors. One is folks who just like to speed, and it makes sense that they wouldn't like them because they're cheaper than police enforcement. They work 24/7, and you can put them in all the places that they like to speed. But the other, a lot of people I talk to who don't like them is they're getting some misinformation from various places, and this is nothing new. With any new technology, there's always going to be misinformation out there about them. So real quick, I just want to dispel a few of the common myths that you'll hear on these. First one is that I hear a lot is either they don't work or I wasn't speeding. Quite frankly, this is a mature technology, but it's also a very simple technology. It is essentially the exact same thing as a police radar or laser detector plus a camera. They're not more complicated than that. The law requires that they be frequently calibrated, and most of these vendors are monitoring them continuously because they can be connected to their home base and they see if there's a problem with this, they fix it right away. And so these things, they for the last 20 years, they've just gotten more and more accurate, and they work. It's quite simple. As Steve mentioned, you'll hear a lot of times people saying these are crack cash grab or a tax. I said the state has very specific requirements about how the fines can be used once they're collected. You have to be transparent and you have to produce observable infrastructure improvements. If you don't, the state will take away your ability to operate these devices. And as for it being a tax, in my opinion, it's kind of my favorite sort of tax because I don't have to pay it if I don't want to. I can just watch my speed. So, number of times I've heard concerns over privacy relating to these devices. And you know what? The state could have just said, it's our roads, our rules on this, and they could have called it a day. A number of states did that originally. Connecticut did not do that. They made it real simple. They say that any data collected from these cameras can only be used for issuing the citation and must be destroyed 30 days after the citation is resolved. The images that these things take have to be encrypted and securely stored. And if the town violates these provisions, if the vendor violates these provisions, the state will take away the ability to operate them. These are not always on video surveillance cameras. They detect a speeder, they take a photo of the speeder. If you don't speed, they don't see you. Simple as that. And then some people will be concerned that, they weren't the one who was driving the vehicle, or where is my due process? First off, the citation is just that. It's a civil citation. It's closest to a parking ticket compared to anything else. Maybe you didn't park your vehicle there, but you own it. So you allowed it to be parked there by someone. It's kind of the same thing here. You allowed your multi-ton piece of metal to be operated in an unsafe manner, you pay a fine. And we're not going to tell your insurance, you're not going to get any points. But if it was your teenager or relative or friend you let your car to, maybe you'll have a word with them to tell them to slow down, but the fine is still yours to pay. And then as far as due process concerns, quite simply, this is not a criminal matter. In fact, it doesn't even rise to the level of a traffic violation like a ticket the police would give you. And then on my very last slide, I have some details here. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but I want to show that this is not just today you say, we're going to do these and it's done. There's a lot involved in this process. The most important thing I will point out is that, in addition to putting together a very detailed plan, you also need to author an ordinance, which means a town meeting. And there's a long process involved in actually making this happen. So, last thing I put down here, a link, and you can get that in the electronic copy of the agenda. It's a presentation that the Connecticut DOT gave just last month. It has a lot more details than I put here tonight, including all the early data from other towns that are showing just how effective these are in reducing speeds in those towns. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about these. And again, I've been working with towns that have been looking to these devices for the last 20 years. So I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns you have about them.
Question, I noticed on paper, I'm reading you did it correctly, but now I believe the state is actually possibly implementing these things, that kind of in state highways.
Yes, so
Is it just state highways, or could this be, I don't know, 66, I guess.
yes, they can. The state is talking about a new statute which would allow them to put these on state roads wherever they want, with or without the town doing it. The fact is, we can authorize this at the town level and start putting them on state roads. If we do that now, the money goes to the town. If we don't, and they put them on the state roads by the state, the money will go to the state.
I did talk to one of our local state troopers, not our town one, and they said that they do have a couple stretches of 84 that they have them on. But they're getting quite a bit of backlash for them right now as well.
We, I saw it on Route 2. I saw the warning sign first, so. There's one on Route 2 between exit 4 and 5.
Yeah, you have to put a warning sign on the side of it to let you know, hey, it's coming.
And there's some chats, Steve.
Okay, well, we're not taking questions. This is for the board to see if we want to move it forward to a town meeting. That's all.
I have, I know before we talked about what other things have been tried to reduce speeding's an issue, so what other things have been tried, besides the speed, thoughts about the speed cameras? I know you talked about the, whatever you call it, put this, how fast you travel.
The speed feedback sign.
Yeah. So have you thought about those? So we haven't put any of those, so the research is showing that's not real, that those aren't real effective?
They are somewhat effective, and it's really variable. They're not as consistently effective as the automated enforcement devices, but it is one possible option. They're not nearly as effective as the devices. We have a couple in town already that have had minor improvements when they work.
So it shows how fast people are going.
It tells people how fast they're going.
But does it register, so we know how well it's.
He's asking, does the town get feedback on the number?
Right.
We could get
We could get that.
the numbers, but we don't get cars, specific cars, or we don't
No.
get pictures or anything else, you know.
Cause we have to know, I mean, the TM, that would have to show how fast people are going to know how effective it is.
You can do some kind of a study. In conjunction with it, not extra stuff.
That's actually fairly common. Towns will set up the speed feedback signs prior to the camera as a way of saying, hey, you're going too fast. And then there's the camera. You're still going too fast, even though you're being told you're going too fast.
I know, I slow down when I see those.
We're not taking
I don't
questions.
have a question.
We-
The vice chair of the traffic committee.
Yeah.
And you were asking about other alternatives.
Right.
And one that he kind of briefly glossed over that we did recommend as part of the traffic committee was increased law enforcement in town.
Can you do me a favor?
Mhm.
State your name.
Kristen Law,
Thank you.
I'm the vice chair of the
Yeah,
traffic.
you said.
We did make another recommendation and what was mentioned tonight was kind of bullet points on why we shouldn't do that, but it didn't sound like an actual recommendation that was presented.
So you want us to get another state trooper?
I believe that the town should look into what their options are, if there's grants, if there's creative ways to have another trooper in town. My understanding is that you were already speaking with the resident trooper on how to do that, sharing time, different agreements you were looking at with other towns. So I think it should be looked at, and it was a recommendation from the traffic committee, so that should.
Okay, thank you. So if I have been looking into it, I have taken the recommendation and been looking into it. So it's not like we just said, well, that's ridiculous.
But it was a recommendation from the traffic.
Yeah, I understand that. We have talked about constables, we've talked about our own force, we have talked about another trooper. Yeah, this will all be presented in the meeting. It's not just this, we'll talk about other things. Thank you.
I think there's a couple issues. I think what it is that we had three things that were presented as options, right? I think this is what Kristen's trying to say, that there's three things listed in there that needed to be discussed as the Board of Ed. While you may have talked to the trooper, that's not a discussion that's necessarily come up here.
But only one of them needs a town meeting if we decide to go that. The others can be discussed. We can put up traffic feedback if we want to purchase and then put them on all the roads. We can talk, we don't have to have an ordinance for that. And the other one was more law enforcement. We would have to.
There would still have to be a motion though, I think, right, for requesting increased, that's what I'm saying, like.
We wouldn't do a motion. What we would do is we would put it on the agenda to talk about it for another meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just as we just went through the budget, there would be an additional budget on
There would
the,
be additional costs.
which is, I forget now, it's been a while since I've.
$180,000,
$180,000.
up to, around $180,000 for a
I'm
second.
assuming if the state isn't giving us a state trooper for free right now, they're not gonna give us a second one for free.
Well, we don't know, because, and for, in all honesty and
Yeah.
transparency, I don't know,
Yeah.
when I've asked about another state trooper, they said, okay, you pay another full cost. It depends on the grade of the trooper, the years of service, everything else. It could be $180,000 for another trooper. And by the way, the state of Connecticut, I believe, is over 200 troopers short of their union directive for troopers. So them giving us another trooper to patrol the streets of Columbia, even at $180,000, we would have to look into it. I'm not saying I'm not looking into it. I think it would be very difficult to get a second trooper. We have talked about constables and stuff, and to outfit constables and send them to the academies or to find retired troopers. I have talked to other towns, and the layout is well over $500,000. Cruisers or cars and radios and training and, you know, insurances, and so it's. Give me a police force. I'm chief of police, man. I'm ready. You know, I'll get you all. But the truth of it is, I get calls all the time. We always do.
Yeah.
Speeding is a problem.
And
And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. That's the scary thing. Like, I don't understand. I just. You know, I drove to Florida over a Christmas vacation and it was. A lot of people racing.
yeah,
You know, you know, I can verify the whole East Coast is going too fast, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
yes, sir.
So I continue to have many concerns. I've brought them up in past meetings. But one of the statements that had been made was that it's essentially free to the town, but there are other administrative costs that tie into this. We've discussed that in past meetings as well. You still need somebody who's going to be ticketing, you're going to need an appeals process, you're gonna need a collections process because they're not criminal, they're civil. So there'd be a collections process for anyone that doesn't pay. So there are other pieces to that. But still that undertone of concern that we're telling people that there's only a handful of ways that you can appeal the process, but that's not what the legislation says. It actually says not to be limited to, that list of 6
Yeah, I
things.
think we said that.
Yep.
When we thought it was initially brought up,
Yeah.
I can go back to the other meetings. I know exactly what it was. It was, there's 6 ways you can get out of the ticket.
Yeah.
And Nick was there and he said, no, there really isn't 6 ways. There's more ways. But there's a 7th
Yeah.
that says you have the right to plead your, you know, whatever your excuse or belief in front of, the people that'll be.
In front of who? I think that's really where I'm also having an issue with it, is what.
They'll have to be voted on, selected by the board of selectmen.
Okay, so there's a lot of issues, and again, I'm always gonna come back to the civil liberties thing. I know that we kind of like shrugged it off in the presentation, but there's due process concerns, and I get that due process doesn't apply in what we're calling a civil case, but it's just a way to skirt around what we're really doing, which is accusing somebody of guilt for something, even if they're not physically the person driving the vehicle. So there's a presumption of guilt. You have no human accuser in front of you. So you can't have that conversation with someone that's actually accusing you unless you go to an appeal board, which has no frame of reference for your actual thing other than what's been reported on that thing. There's privacy concerns. The ACLU has multiple articles dating all the way back to 2011 on concerns about traffic cameras and privacy concerns. You do have a private organization, a private company that is storing that data. So while we'd like to say it's super encrypted and no one's ever going to get that, I think evidence has shown that companies are not always able to keep your personal information private. Yeah, while we're saying it's not a revenue stream, the first thing you said was it's both. So yeah,
Right,
I don't know. I feel like
but I believe the
Yeah.
town will collect nothing. If they don't break the law by speeding through the town, correct? And what kind, can I ask?
or if someone doesn't break the law speeding through the town in your vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I do think there's other proposals on the table. I appreciate the efforts that have been put forward by the traffic committee. I think there are other things to try before you get to the point that you are starting to infringe on people's personal rights. So that's just kind of my stance. I know that you disagree. I know that many disagree, but I don't feel comfortable putting it forward, but I'm comfortable with it, what the group decides, so.
Speechless. No, I want to thank the committee for their hard work. There's been a lot of changes in the committee over since it was created, and a lot of people are coming and going. I see, I'm looking at the timeline that we have here, and we're saying identify locations, prepare an implementation plan, draft an ordinance, then hold a public hearing. Right now, rather than getting to a debate among board members, I would like to have a public hearing first, and perhaps give a presentation of the board, and explore the options and hear what people have to say. And then if we have to go back later on for a town meeting, if we decide to so go forward with an ordinance, that would be something that could be addressed at that point in time. But I'd like to get feedback and really find out what the temperature is in the town. I know a lot of people are here today, so that would suggest to me that it's going to be a bit of a hot issue. And I want to state for the record that Rob Hellstrom is not part of the speeding problem, because I followed him down Pine Street. Exactly.
I clarify one thing real quick. The public hearing that's noted on there is required by the state statute after the plan is actually been put together.
But it seems to be included here twice.
Yeah, he's saying, why waste our time putting it together if everybody's coming?
It would be expensive. I mean, obviously, if there's enough towns doing it, you're not recreating the wheel in terms of coming up with an ordinance. But I'm just saying that you're ultimately going to have a town meeting if you decide to go forward with an ordinance. But why not have a town meeting in the beginning and let everybody express their opinions here? So we get a better idea as to how we want to approach this.
Yeah, you can have a hearing before you have a town meeting.
Correct.
Like, yeah.
Bill, are you talking about just a meeting, informational meeting, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't be not a town meeting, it's an informational meeting, just get
I
feedback.
don't hear a lot from the committee as far as different options being explored. So let's put the options out there. Let's everybody talk about it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, because there's, pros and cons on both sides, and it's gonna affect everybody in Columbia, so everybody in Columbia should have a way to express themselves.
I guess the only comment I have is everyone keeps saying, well, there must be other, I was on the committee for a while, and then when I became selectman, I realized I was like on the committee beforehand, and I got on the committee, you only have so much time in life. But when I was on the committee, I spent a lot of time thinking about things, and I think we all need to kind of dig down a little deep on ourselves and just think about people I don't know, I haven't heard anything. I looked at the pamphlets and all the things. There's no sure thing to slow people down other than if you don't do this, you're gonna get into trouble. And this is like, in difference to putting the state cop out of there, you really get in trouble when you get caught by the state cop. In this case, we're doing something that's more of a slap on the wrist, say, come on, take it easy, you're on the neighborhood, slow down. So that was kind of where I was at on the committee, is that like, if you're serious about slowing people down, you have to do something. You gotta, unfortunately, us as humans, I think we've all got to the point in our lives now, well, if I can get away with it, I'm gonna do it, kind of thing. And I know even being on the committee for as long as I was on the committee, I found myself slowing down. I'm much better now at paying attention to the speed limit. Maybe you put cameras up and all of a sudden everybody stops speeding and then we don't make any money on it. I don't know.
See, I guess I'm concerned, you put them up, I don't know, 2 or 3, it may slow you down, and where you put them up doesn't slow you down the rest of the town.
But
That's why I was looking at other options for the whole town. But then I don't know, it doesn't sound like there's, you've done a lot of research.
well, I don't know. I disagree with that because there are different things, although you want bumps in the road.
That would be okay, but yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of little things you can do, but also those things cost money. So one of the ideal things about this program is you get some money, and if you really want to bumps in the road, you have some money to do it. Or if you want more of those signs, because you're not gonna put traffic signs to the whole town or cameras to the whole town of Columbia.
No,
Because every road, I don't care where you live,
they speed.
every road in the town of Columbia, people go too fast.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
you find one road that people are going the speed limit, I'd be like, I'll go see it because I want to see it.
The bulk of the accidents in our town, though, according to the state police records, are considered distracted driving.
Yeah.
So while the speeding is 100% an issue, I'm not denying that, we live on 66, I get the concern. If we're correlating it with the accidents that are happening in town, there's other things that can also do, I know that the traffic safety piece was also to look at other issues with traffic. Well, I know you're getting a lot of complaints from folks about it. Much of what we're seeing are distracted driving issues, and there are things Hebron's done. You know, the road narrowing, the illusion of the road narrowing down there, there's, you know, having extra actual enforcement out there. I do think there's other things.
Yeah, but they cost
Possible,
money,
yeah.
they cost money.
This is not gonna not cost money, though. I think that's the illusion we're being given, but it's still going to cost money for enforcement.
But if you have an income, so you can pay for some. Well, I guess to finish what I was saying, I agree with what Bill said. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a meeting where people talk about it. But I think,
What Rachel is saying, the income will be less because there will be costs.
yes,
Well, and also,
Whatever
if
costs
it's
us money, it
working,
will be less.
if it's working, theoretically, it should become less over time as well. I have no problem going to a public hearing, by the way. Like, I think that's a good idea to get the public input since we're not even.
Everybody can voice their opinion, affects all of you.
you
And
know,
I know I've slowed down being, listening to all this stuff. I've
and
slowed down.
another thing is at least us as being on the board, when everybody comes in and complains about the speed, you can say, well, we suggested this and we, you know,
Yeah.
and you made
You know,
that
that
choice.
doesn't, believe me.
I know.
And they say, I'll call you next week and scream again. So, you know, I had a very firm discussion with the Department of Public Works Director today. Tell me why I can't have speed bumps on Mock Road or Whitney Road.
Yes.
Tell me why. I get a call every week. People are screaming up and down the road. My wife almost got hit. I am fearful for my daughter. Please. Put a flashing light up there. The kids or whoever, I don't blame the kids, whoever sees how fast they can go. Look, I got it up to 83. Look at that, you know? Well, the bottom line is people feel it in their wallet. But I'll do whatever. I'm just one vote, just one vote. I'm one vote, one vote for the taxes, one vote for the budget.
See what people wanna do.
Yeah,
I'm thinking we should check other stuff, but I'd like to slow people down.
you keep saying other stuff, I don't know, I wish somebody would tell me what other stuff is.
So I mean, Mansfield has speed bumps. I drove through a town the other day that had the reverse speed bumps.
Yeah,
So they have
okay.
the
So
death.
you know speed bumps. I mean, they talked
Yeah.
about speed bumps, they talked about
Well, yeah,
turnarounds, they talked about, you know, there's all the painting and the lines.
And Department of Public Works says speed bumps don't work. Has trouble with the plows.
Yeah.
The emergency services have trouble with speed bumps when they're trying to get to someplace. And they probably speed a little bit, hell, thank goodness. You know, so speed bumps aren't good. People, water pools and then it freezes and then they go up and they slide off. Okay, so that was speed bumps. They don't like the mumble strips because it wakes me up at night. I hear it across the lake.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I kind of wonder if that's real or not.
It's not real, but because I've stand outside and listened to the car go over it. It's worse in the car than it is out. But we decided not to move on those. Still would like to circle back on that. So speed bumps, I get it from drivers and I get it from the Department of Public Works. Mumble strips, I get it from people who live along the road and across the lake because it reverberates over there. Let's see, the flashing costs us thousands of dollars each. It has to be maintained. I have a tough time with the Department of Public Works to go out there, fix them, change the battery, pick them back up, whatever, move them. Because they're good on one road one day and then you really should move them around. Let's see, extra police officers cost $180,000. They're tough to get. Union is already fighting because there's not enough in the state to cover the roads. What else have we done, Nick? Paint the speed on when you enter a road, paint the miles per hour on the entrance of the road. So you go, okay, that's 35. And you keep going and it's like this and it's fun. And you gotta get to the dump, the transfer station before it closes at 4. Not only do you speed, but you don't even tie your load down, so it's all over the yard. Yes,
The committee reviewed, the Federal Highway Administration has a list of 28 proven safety countermeasures. And a number of them aren't applicable to how the roads in Columbia work. The others are either way too expensive or would require major construction. And we've reviewed all those options, and so far, these are the recommendations that we've made. We have discussed at length speed bumps, humps, and tables. We have chosen not to make a recommendation on those thus far.
I feel like we're the group that, you know, you see these videos and stuff like, the complaint department. And they all sit around listening to the complaints that are coming in or watching the videos and stuff laughing, you know, because they know they're not gonna do anything, because they're.
I'm fine with it going, I agree, I think we need to hear from the town, I'm fine with it going to a
So
public
I
hearing.
moved that we set a town meeting, a
Well,
formal informational meeting
information.
to discuss speed traffic cameras in Columbia. Okay,
Issues with speed, I mean, cameras
this is
and.
my motion.
There's a friendly amendment she was trying to
I'm
make.
thinking that, and not just speed cameras, just issues with speed and how to deal with it.
Okay, we can, and other,
Potential solutions or.
speed deterrent methods,
You gotta set people down,
right?
for sure.
Sound good?
Yeah, because then
Alright, so when we
you'll,
said they,
hopefully people who don't like bumps will show up too.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Steve, you it says to you want company to present, it was just.
well, let me see how people feel.
You might want to ideal, a subject matter expert besides us. You'll answer questions, but we don't need to talk about that.
And I see the flavor in the room bigger than this room. I think, so, you know, can we have an informal,
Yes.
talk about it meeting? Okay? Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
so we'll set it up and get a date out to you. Okay, all those in favor of holding that meeting? Great, thank you so much. Bring your smartphones, because you're gonna wanna hear what your smartphone tells you when you get home to get on a commercial on your phone when it listens to you. And if you go through a toll line, you know, you get a. I just, some of the sarcastic thing, because it's kind of. Nothing's a secret in our life anymore. That's you're being watched.
They are listening.
Yeah, okay. You should have it after. Budget. All right, what was that? Okay. New business. Request for a bench dedicated to Bob and Gerald Kelly at Zegna Farm. Their sons have wanted to put a bench for them, so I move to approve the bench request for Bob and Cheryl Kelly, donated by their sons. And Zegna Farm. Any discussion? Hoping we're at the top of the sledding, because we're not tired of filling that slide. I don't know. All those in favor? Alright, perfect, let them know, thank you. Columbia Lake. Okay. Somebody's asking for an approval or an application to repair a concrete step in the right of way. Before we make a motion on this. And I haven't read this, it's still no. Yeah, it's going in there, that's good. And, Mr. Scalise is here. You can talk to this a little bit? Sure. I don't see a picture in here, so is this on the lake bed?
No, it's steps going down through the lake, it's in the right of way.
Yeah.
It's got a crack from one end to the other, it's probably 10-15 feet long.
Does it encroach into the windows, going into the water?
No, it doesn't.
Alright, and it just happened with
Yeah.
with the winter, the frost heave brought it up?
Like it's been repaired before.
Okay. Let's see. Well, that
It
is
says
okay.
seawall stairs. Is that correct?
What's that?
It says seawall stairs,
Well, it is the seawall, but there's stairs going down to
but it doesn't actually get to the water.
the stairs do go to the water, but this step that's cracked is above the base water level.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Alright. Move to approve the application for repair to a concrete step at the right of way between 41 and 43 Sleepy Hollow Road upon recommendation set forth by Ellen. For the Angle property. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Carries. Resignation for Paul Portonelli. We're away.
We're done with it.
From the Board of Education. Okay. And Jennifer, is Jennifer here? Hi, Jennifer. Might be on the Board of Ed, huh?
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I have a specialized degree in education. I spent a significant amount of time working both in the classroom as a contracted teacher. And I have also worked as on the other side doing policy research during the transition from NCLB to ESSA for the Education Commission of the States. And I am currently now working with Horace Porter staff to implement STEM curriculum and hands-on experiential learning at Sancta Farm, at the community garden. That will go on not just, you know, a one-off program, but an in perpetuity type of program where kids learn about agriculture. They learn about the history of Sancta Farm. They learn about the history of the town in that same vein. And they learn, you know, skills that they can develop in the long run. I am a huge proponent of a high quality, well-rounded education. I think that kids are the absolute best of us. And we have to support them. And I support the Board of Ed. I was at the meeting last night and every single person was wonderful. It's a hard time for all of us and they had to make cuts as well. But nobody blamed each other. Every single person was fighting for the kids. And that's why I would like to be on the Board of Ed.
I like that.
That makes that easy.
I know.
Just want to confirm that you're working with the school, that's not a contract at the end of
That's
the grade.
correct. Yeah, I am so sorry. I am also the chair of the Sancta Farm Management Committee. Which encompasses the community garden, and I have been building up the programs and services there. Although slowly, because you know that's the way the world works. But I've been developing educational programming there and infrastructure improvements as I can.
You can do that as a hobby on Saturday. How much did they cut?
The proposed budget.
Never mind, I shouldn't even ask. I know what the proposed budget is, I know what they tried to cut.
Education is important.
Move that we appoint Jennifer Flinsack to the Board of Education.
Want to second it? Well, we don't need to second it. I did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Aye. Okay, welcome. Well, just to let you know, we're looking for a payroll clerk part-time. We have a good candidate in mind. We're gonna leave it like that?
Yeah,
We're back here.
but I'm trying to wrap it up.
Town administrators.
But wait, you have the more important, Steve.
Mike Lester,
Oh, I'm
8.3, 8.4.
Yeah, I moved to appoint Mike Lester as the open burn official. Any discussion?
Where does this come from?
Well, he's always been open burn official.
We're just
It's
reappointing.
requirement.
to reappoint them.
Yeah. He does a good job.
Sure does.
Likes the natural. All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to appoint Stephen Postemski as the assistant open burn official. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Now,
Just want to update everyone, CCM is having a conference tomorrow at the state capitol, April 8th at 9:15. CCM will be represented by administrators and mayors and board members will be welcome. We're trying to get the Mashantucket Pequot and Mohegan Fund back to where it was when it was created in 1993. In 2019, it was cut due to the state having a deficit fund, but the state has not ever brought the funding back, which goes to support the towns and cities. So I just want to put that out there.
So so the money that's coming from the casinos
That was the agreement from the beginning.
is supposed to be coming now, it's not coming, and we want to get there, okay?
We want
That's
to
not
get
even
brought
brought
back to where it was, the levels. 44 towns were cut completely out of the funding. We've been getting what, 9,000 a year?
4,800.
Oh, 4,800.
Yeah.
Used to be much more.
Used to be 50 something, right? 50 something.
Yeah, it was up there for a
Yeah.
while back, then I got.
So we could use it again. Also, I'm announcing to the board, if you'd like to join me, and the registrars who have also invited our state senator and state representative to a whole worker appreciation event, which will be held April 28th at 6 p.m. in Yeoman's Hall. That invites, I think electronically just went out there, but and then I'm starting something new that I've seen other towns do, and I like it. I've had my department heads write up either bi-weekly or a monthly update of what are some of the major things going on in different departments. So like the Public Works Director put out that they're assessing drainage issues on Old Willimantic Road right now, and improving stormwater flow. They're repairing our street sweeper. And put the windshield into it, we cannibalized it from an old sweeper, and they're repairing our water truck and installing radios in the F-350. And they're also getting all our town rec park fields and school fields ready for baseball season and soccer. So all that's happening right now, and they're beginning these seasonal landscape cleanup and mulching. And then facilities, I won't go through every building, but if you wanna take these out and bring them home and study them, or electronically send them through, I know it's not at the time we are at the meeting now to go over in detail, but by building, you can see every project that the facilities department is trying to tackle within our town. And that's 3 pages. Becca Senior Center is proud that they're increasing their meals participation. And they've gone up to 30 participants on Monday, 35 and 40 participants for lunch on Wednesday, and 50 on Fridays. So big boost to that. And they're beginning some new low-cost day trips and social services. We're trying to hire another assistant to the social service program. So we're making progress on that as well. And the Easter they distributed Easter food baskets on Monday, March 30th, and to a total of 34 families. And I won't go through any more. Also, the rec department is getting ready. They just had a very successful Easter egg hunt at Rec Park. I think over 1,000 people.
Really? Wow.
I think I remember
Over
number
1,500 eggs.
1,500 eggs, and they're all not. So that was great, and we're gearing up for the summer concert series and getting ready for the lake marine patrol and lifeguards and all the training that goes into getting the lifeguards ready to protect us. And they're getting all the fields and little screens up on the tennis courts and pickleball courts. So that's all I have, Steve.
Good. Guess the Chronicle did an article on the Upper Woodland Terrace oil spill in response. Hopefully it was favorable. Budget report. Budget. I move to approve refund as presented totaling $18. And 60 cents. Anybody got something wanted to donate it to the budget? I'm sure where it is. I don't even know where it is. No, who knows? No discussion, all those in favor of the refund? And move to approve payment of bills as presented totaling $151,688.50. Please. 80 cents. Oh, 80 cents, excuse me, I consisting of consisting of emergency, regular credit card and paycheck.
Let's, budget note.
Bought our truck, huh?
Paid for it, yeah. We did it.
April, yeah.
I think it's all in service now.
Where are we standing with the insurance for the old truck?
They take, we got a
In the phase.
20 second.
Now. No discussion? More? And then mortgage. All those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Opposed? None, thank you. Okay, audience citizen, anybody? Yes, please state your name and.
My name is Maggie Long. I live at 47 Route 87 in Columbia. It happens to be the spot near the dam and the steep hill that goes up on 87 and near the S curve. In the past, I've come to talk to Steve and to Mark, and there was a meeting about the concerns. There must have been 30-something people, I think. The numerous accidents that have happened over the years have been, it's been amazing that no one's been killed. We just had another accident about a week and a half ago where a car was coming down at around between 8 and 8:30 in the morning, coming down the hill fast. It crossed over the lane that we are on. Amazingly went just between a stone wall and a telephone pole, took up a good part of our property. A big chunk apparently had flipped three times before it landed 4 feet from my car and maybe 8 feet from our house, 10 feet from the house. It was very frightening.
Wasn't that a delivery driver?
Yeah, because he was.
DoorDash.
It's happened over and over the years, and we mentioned that the Osmonds who live down around the curve themselves, they've had to replace their mailbox a couple dozen times. Yeah, more than 24 times, I think, over the years. But there's just been some very, very dangerous, and we had come to ask to see about the cameras. There was also, just to follow up on the presentation with the transportation, there was an interview this past Sunday on, I think it's called Connecticut News with Eric Parker. And he was interviewing 2 police chiefs. One was Middletown and the other one was Watertown. But they were talking about how successful the programs have been as far as getting people to slow down. And just, making a real difference and preparing people, like you said, having signs ahead of time, warning people that there's going to be a camera. So it's not as though it's not, and I think a lot of the towns, from what I understood, spent a lot of time telling people for a number of weeks ahead of even starting to use the cameras that this was going to be done. So, and I know, well, I'm sure there's a lot of us, and I know sometimes I'm speeding. But I think now Route 87 is busier than I've ever seen it in all the years that we've lived here, and that's about 40 years. The huge trucks that are coming from Pride's Corner, from the dairy farms in Lebanon and all over, it's just very loud and noisy, and it's dangerous. So,
Thank you.
and I'm glad to hear you can have a public hearing.
Anyone else? Yeah,
I dropped down the chat suggestions.
Yes.
My name is Maureen Zavajanzik. I live at 17 Whitney Road in Columbia. I've lived here for 39 years. There is one of those speed safety feedback signs. It's about 40 feet to the right of my driveway, which is very handy. And the latest incident was yesterday, Monday morning at 11:30. I was coming out of my driveway, and I'm not one of those people that just zooms out of the driveway. I've learned the speed that people come down Whitney Road, that I stop, I pause for several seconds. I look both ways multiple times. I thought I was clear. I went to take a left out of my driveway. Somebody came flying over the hill and narrowly missed hitting me. I looked at the speed safety feedback sign. That person was going 63 miles an hour. That is not unusual on Whitney Road. And tomorrow, I will probably not leave my house between 8 and 4 because it's dump day.
Yeah.
And if you live in this part of town, Lake Road, you're taking Whitney Road to go to the dump. And no one is going 30 miles an hour. I know this because I sat out there one day and recorded the speeds of everybody that went by on that very handy feedback sign. No one is going 30 miles an hour on Whitney Road. I used to be able to walk my dogs up the road. I can't do that. I can't go out to get my mail. I can't leave my driveway on Wednesdays or Saturdays.
I once asked the trooper to sit on Whitney Road on a Wednesday.
He did. I saw him.
This was 2-3 troopers before this. That's the problem going back a ways. They were so proud to tell me the next day that they stopped 27 farms.
Yep.
27 cars. Really? So.
So if people are worried about their rights, I want to say, where's my right to live my life on that road in this town?
Thank you.
Those were Morning's.
Anybody else?
I need Morning's last name.
What's your last name, please?
I'll spell it for you.
Thank you.
Z like zebra, A, V like Victor, O, D like David, J, A, N like Nancy, C, I, K. Thank you.
All set. Board group select comments. I actually have to make a comment. 2 weeks ago, we had a board selectmen meeting and we talked about the Freedom 250 fund. I made a mistake. In one of the conversations, somebody mentioned Hillsdale College and they said it was a Christian college. And I said, I for one would like to see more Christianity in schools. People, I said it because they said it was a Christian college. What I should have said was, I'd like to see more religion or meditation or self-reflection for people to think about what kind of person they are. I shouldn't have singled it out as Christianity in the school. People of other faiths were upset by that. I apologize. I am not like that. It was talking about Christian school, so the Christianity came into my head. But I stand firm on any religion, meditation, self-reflection. We could all use a little of it. So I apologize. At this time, I'm going to suspend the Board of Selectmen meeting, and we are going to go into an executive session for real estate. Thank you all. So at 8:51, we're going to exit the executive session with no action taken and resume the Board of Selectmen meeting. I move to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8:52.